Hey guys, so in today's video I'll show you how to install the base trim. If you haven't already, check out my video on how to install the casing. I'll put a link in the description or in the video here. So this first section that we're going to do is this piece right here, this little jog, and all the way over to this casing right here. I always like to start from the right and work my way to the left around the room, and I'll start at a door jamb where it'll be a straight cut, and I'll show you why here in a little bit. So we'll measure this piece first. I always want to measure to where the top of the trim would be. This trim is 4.5 inches, so I'm going to stay up about 4.5 inches from the floor, and I'll measure over to my jamb here, and as you see, it's 45 9/16 to the jamb. Next thing we're going to do is measure this right to the corner. It's exactly 11 inches. This one, 45 1/4, 5/16. I got all my measurements wrote down on my shim here, so let's go cut some trim. First thing I want to do is square off the end of a piece of trim here. This is the first piece that goes beside the jamb. That was 45 9/16. As you see, I write my measurement on top of the base trim at the back corner, which would be the corner where the trim would tuck into. That just gives me a pivot angle. Whether I'm doing a square cut or a 45-degree cut, it'll pivot from the back side there. Now that I got it marked, this first piece, I'm just going to cut it square. Alright, that's it for our first piece. Next piece is 11 inches. So where this one will tuck into my first piece, I'm going to 45 this piece. And then where this will be an outside corner, I need to 45 the outside as well. Now, I got to coat this end, basically cut along that line right there so it'll tuck into my other piece. First thing I'll do is set my saw at 5 degrees or so. I'll turn the piece upside down and cut right along that line. Now that I got that cut, I'll take a coping saw and cut out the other side. So now that I got this end coped, I'll show you how it goes together. Instead of 45ing both sides and risking having a gap or a crack there, by coping it, we'll just cut this end square like this, just a square cut, and then this coped end will just sit against it just like that. And the reason for doing that is just, I think the corners just look a lot better. Alright, we got our first two pieces cut. Next one is the 45 1/4, which will be a 45 this way. And what I'll do for that, since the other end will be square, I'm going to cut it about 48 inches long, and I'll measure off the square end because it's easier just to hook a tape measure on that instead of trying to hold it right at the inside of this 45. Since this is an outside corner, we want to go 45 inches or 45 degrees from that measurement longer. Again, we'll leave this end square because we'll cope the other end into that. And our last measurement is 52 1/8. And this will be cut square as well because that'll be up against the door jamb. Again, we'll set our saw at 5-degree angle this way. We'll coat this in and that'll be it. Okay, now that I got all 4 pieces cut, next step is to install that. And again, we'll start from the right side here. And the reason, as you've seen, why I want to start on the right side, work my way to the left, is because I'll be coping the right ends of the pieces that go into the corner. And since I'm right-handed, it's much easier to cope the right end. Obviously, if you're left-handed, it'll be easier to start on the left side of the room and cope the left end of the trim and work your way to the right. The first piece we'll just slide in place like that. And over here, I want to make sure that it's setting flush, because all these corners have drywall in them, and the drywall's tapered at the bottom here. To prevent the trim from sitting on an angle like that, I'll put a piece of cardboard. I got little pieces cut. I'll tuck one in behind there, and by using cardboard, I can push it back and wherever I need to. I'll use a square and make sure that it's going to set flush once I put pressure on it, which it will. So that piece is in place, and then if you see here's the coped end, I'll slide that in place. I'll get my other piece here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and nail this outside corner together with my 18 gauge nailer first. Now that I got that together, should be able to just slide it in the corner. Switch nail guns here. To nail my base trim on, I'll use a 16 gauge Bostitch nailer. I'll use 2-inch nails, depending on how thick my base trim is. This is only like a 5/8 inch, so 2-inch nails work good. And I'll nail them on in every stud. Use my trusty old stud finder, make sure it's working. Yeah, it's working. I'll find the first stud. I'll put a nail in there. Instead of marking each one, I'll lay a tape measure along the wall. And most studs are at 16 inches on center. So I'll put the 16 on that. And then I'll just nail it every 16-inch intervals on down through there. This is where I'll go ahead and nail all my my casings on as well. As you see in the casing, the video where I put the casing on, I just tack the inside on, and then once I come through with the big nailer and nail the base, I'll nail all my casings up through there as well. Alright, let's just put this last piece in here. Alright, everything's in place, just nail it together. Okay, that's it. The only thing left to do really is I want to hit all my nail holes with this spackling. You can get it at Sherwin-Williams. It's called shrink-free spackling. Works pretty good. And then I'll hit all the joints with a painter's caulking, and then give it the final coat of paint. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more how-tos or just DIY projects, and you never know what I get into.